Welcome everyone to the 206th weekly MLP Drawing School live critique stream.
Woo.
Woo. Today we got the ever lovely Aliclaw,
Hello.
the ever fluffy Zai,
Hello.
and returning again is Pixie Nope.
Pixie.
Hello from Australia.
And of course we have the ever-living dead of dead livings.
Zombie.
Brain. Yeah, people.
Ali, Pixie, Zombie, and Fluffy.
Lots of people.
we're just missing Mousy.
Unfortunately,
He's
her
on hiatus.
roommates ruin
Yes.
everything.
Yes. She's
Alright.
on her Mousy adventures.
First picture is by Poofindi. Yes. Critique, please. They wanted me to try something different from a headshot and stuff. I mean, in the stream. That was us. I think we're that person.
Whoa.
They listened. Ellie, people listen.
Yay!
People hear us? What?
They don't need to obey us, but it's always nice to be heard.
It's nice to be listened to.
All right. First of all, well done.
That, I mean, I keep writing it. My first critique, QT, right there. That is the adorable QT right there. That's just pointing out where all
There's a lovely pony, lovely fluff, lovely cute. I like the colours too.
I'm trying to think. Really, overall, I think it's really strong. It has like an interesting style to it.
Yeah, the line weight you've like really laid into like the versatile line weight.
And,
I think-
and you have a nice texture to the brushes going on. It's not like it's very sketchy, but also clean. It's a clean sketchy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you're not afraid to be inconsistent in a controlled way. If that makes sense. It probably doesn't.
The line weight variation is really nice. I think for me, the head looks like just a little bit too small. Like I might make it just like a little bit bigger to fit.
Yeah,
bit
but you
more
could
body.
probably put like inflate the head shape roundness a little bit to maybe achieve that. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because I also
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the shape of the head, so I don't know.
Maybe the neck's a little bit too small, or maybe it's just like a little bit too inwards curving on both sides. Like
I
maybe
think-
making the back a bit straighter or
I
something.
think just because of the volume of that fluff on the front chest, it makes that neck look thinner. Honestly, just if we assume that's all fluff out there, it looks good to me.
Yeah.
I would remember that other ear. It still exists. Don't forget the ears. They like to hear.
They're really cute too. Your ears are adorable.
That tail looks good. It's coming right off the spine. Good job.
I like the poof. I like the little way it sort of comes out in like a fluff.
Everything's fluffy. This arm here. Here. This arm here that's going like yo. And
It's sort of
turning
coming out
towards
a little bit.
body. I guess it's turning towards the viewer because we got
Yeah.
this double overlap that happens here. I think it's just awkward how the hoof is turned, because if like the leg is turned towards the viewer, to get that hoof turned down like that. Yeah, I think I just straighten this entire section here, and instead of curving it, I just leave it straighter to imply that the bone isn't bent, but instead it's just turned towards the viewer.
Yes, I would also make it a little bit thicker just to match with the other legs there, and maybe bring it just like a little bit further out of the body so we can like see that it's not like, so we can see that it's coming out of sort of the appropriate shoulder slot. If that makes sense. It's just a matter of getting that accurate. There we go.
With the light coming down from sort of this direction from the top right, this should be a little bit more in shadow just because it's underneath the body.
Yeah, I agree with that.
This has a little bit more depth.
Yeah.
I like the hair. I like how.
Yeah, I was
like,
looking at that
fringe-
start.
Mm.
The fade on the fringe is really cool.
I feel like the only thing I would change is how you did on the tail, because all the fringe is really straight here, where you have an obvious curve going on. So I would try to like maybe follow the curve in some way if you're gonna have it a little squiggly there, just to have that consistency. Because up here it works because it's all pretty much straight coming out, but down at the tail you just have a clear squiggle going through that hair.
This is a very minor nitpick. The position on your nostril location is quite high up compared to the other one, and because the head appears to be quite level, it just makes the entire muzzle look turned. I would just keep an eye on those and keep them straight with the rest of the face. Alright, does anyone else have any other elements on this one?
Just
Not
QT.
personally.
Well, if we got them to draw a whole horse this time, how about a background?
With an action pose. Boom.
Yeah,
Oh my
put them in a scene. Alright, let's move on.
Mhm.
Next one is Twi X Pie. Wait, Pinkie Pie.
Twinkie.
Cat face.
Kitty kitty.
Fluffy, do you have a mobile phone going on?
Oh.
Bzz, 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 bzz.
Somewhere in the vicinity.
So it is Twilight X. So we got. I'm trying. I don't know what the reference is to. Because there's an arrow that says cupcake on the head.
It's a quote from something, but I don't know where the quote's from. Sounds familiar though. Sounds super familiar. It's just cute. It's just cute them together, wearing hats. Oh wait, Willy Wonka? No. Yes.
That is Willy Wonka.
That's the hat makes sense then if it's Willy Wonka, because it's like the brown Willy Wonka hat.
So why is he or she crying?
Because they're really happy. Those are tears of happiness. They're cute
Tears of
girlfriends
happy.
together.
All right. So critique.
So it's detail that's sticking out to me that I highly recommend you stay away from is doing these big like negative space nostrils. You really only need the one line there. I know the vector arts have them nice and thick, but you don't need to draw the outline of them because they're nice and thick. You can just use a nice simple line, and it tends to feel a bit better and look a bit better than having two big gaping nostrils on these cute little pony pieces. So that would be my advice for that little detail.
I'm interested what references you're using. Mostly things like the mane and head shape. Most of your references are going to put them into a larger ball. You know, something like that. It's a ball. Oh my gosh. Ignored that one. There, Fluffy's going to do this up for us. Manes often roll behind the head a bit, and you can see a little bit of them hanging around there, like you've done with Pinkie. Twilight's will also descend behind the head. They're simple things to get wrong to start, but if you're to stick with a construction shape, like if I steal one of Allie's balls here, I'll steal the biggest one. If we're to use lines like this, where we bisect both horizontally and vertically, it helps us keep everything in line on the head. You'll see a lot of artists use these as their base, and so they'll draw out a ball, separate it, generally point that bisection center towards wherever the face is going to be pointed. And if it's like sideways, you get things like woo, facing off towards the side, so it's sticking out. You'll see that a lot in under sketches. I highly, highly suggest doing stuff like that because it helps you center the rest of the elements. And then you get to use it as a comparison for the head width because, hey, if that top line is substantially longer than that side or the horizontal line, we might have an issue.
And
Yeah. So don't be
And
afraid
just-
of your references. Sorry.
not at all. No, totally. Sorry to interrupt. I was just gonna go back to the ball thing really quick. Circles are hard. It's just a fact. They're entirely hard, especially when you're first starting out. You're getting those muscle memories in you, getting that motion in your arm, getting used to that. What I highly suggest is doing what I'm doing right now. Just fill a page with circles. You could do one every day, and I guarantee you, you're gonna be like the circle master, and it's gonna make everything's gonna benefit from that. Your strokes are gonna get better, your control's gonna get better, and they don't have to be perfect circles. I'm just kind of like sketching them on, like they're not even done in one stroke. Allow yourself to just go back and correct them. Just all different sizes, small, big. You can do one giant one, and then if your page is full, if you don't want to waste pages, make a circle where I don't know, where they all collide somewhere, like where three of them collide. You can try to like circle that area, and like it's just purely for practice. It's like a warm up. Like if you're gonna run, you need to stretch. If you're gonna draw, you gotta warm up. You do little sketchy things like this. But practicing your circle is like eating your vegetables. Just it's gonna help. I know it's boring. If you want, you can go in and just like draw pony faces in every circle. That could be a fun challenge. But I
It's
highly
very
recommend that.
important
I really do.
Fundamental.
Oh, and looking at your paper, it looks like you're pressing down really hard. I just see these little divots and indents kind of around the paper. I'm not sure quite what they're from, but loosen up a little bit. Don't feel like you need to press down so hard.
Something that helps me with drawing circles is trying to draw a bit bigger. So try to, grab some printer paper and then try to like fill up the page with a full drawing instead of like filling up most of the corner. When you're drawing like circles and that sort of stuff, instead of rotating your wrist to draw it, try to rotate sort of your shoulder or elbow. Get a bit of a bigger arc going. Can be a little bit easier.
Get them big circles.
I'm just experimenting. So like I'm sort of taking what LD and Ali have been talking about with building up sort of under sketch construction, and you saw me sort of use the circles and everything. The little plus things to help sort of discern the direction of the faces. You might have also seen me sort of draw out the entire eye shape before I put Twilight's eyes in, just to sort of figure out like where they were actually falling. These sort of things are very important when it comes to building up an image, and you don't need them every time, but they always help. Whether you're a beginner or an expert, they always help. And it's just sort of working out the expression you're trying to do and how to convey that. So they're obviously like very, very happy, crying happy at the moment. So I'm sort of building the expression to help that. And there's stuff like, oh, maybe their ears should be down, because typically when the ponies are in this sort of like super calm and happy pose, their ears will fall back. So it's just a matter of experimenting with what you think might work the best and just trying different things. Actually, not exactly how Pinky's mane goes, but how to fit Pinky's mane with a hat. I don't really like that you sort of bent the mane around the hat, or I've attempted. It can be tricky, but yeah, just keep experimenting.
Experimenting and playing around is good.
Yeah.
All right, shall we move on?
Yes, sir.
And the only other thing I was just about to say was that I also sort of experimented. I know your Pinky's face was at a different angle, and in fact Twilight's as well, because they were both like looking kind of straightforward. The only other thing I experimented with was to have them like just to put them at different sort of dynamic angles and stuff, just to add some variety in there, because that can really help make your image look a little bit more dynamic. There we go. I look over at the alley circles and it just looks like a pony creature that's just covered in bubbles.
It's a grape creature. Yeah.
It's a grape creature.
So this is by IREX6122015. I think that's a date.
It's a secret code.
It's a birthday.
It is by Aaron.
Apparently. Name Thunderflash, type of pony Pegasus, eye color Harvest Gold, mane and tail color yeah, it just seems to be a description of what's going on.
I wonder
here.
if that's because like on the like pony wiki it like lists all like the colors of the characters even though you can see them in the picture.
Possibly.
Maybe.
Oh, it's really hard to use any kind of color on this. Okay, white actually works the best. Yeah, so it seems pretty obvious you've sort of been using the sort of traditional marketing material as reference for this. We were sort of discussing that before the stream. And it's always good using reference, and we can see. Maybe we're wrong, but it definitely looks like you've been using references for this one. But the marketing pictures, those like typical pony vectors that you see on everything, are not good. There's a difference between using references and using the right references. I know we're so demanding, but you've got to look at the right sources. Stuff from the show, especially towards the newer seasons, is much better. Stuff from the movie is super gorgeous. The stuff you see on like the artwork is all like the 2009-10 like vectors that were just like made like before the show had even been formed, and the marketing people just never seem to want to use anything that isn't hideous. So be careful about which vectors you're using.
And even on top of that, we do always point to the show just because it's a base. You know, everyone's drawing fan art of that show,
Yes.
so base.
It's a good place to start with.
Yeah, don't be afraid to look at also other animals and other artists. Like, and when I say other animals, horses, dogs, cats, you'll see a lot that cartoonified ponies kind of can have like cat-like attributes or dog or, you know,
Yeah.
horse stuff too. They're obviously horses.
Yeah.
But don't be afraid to go out and look at those as well. I know. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, it might seem a bit daunting for you at this stage to look at a picture of a horse and think, "How on earth am I supposed to translate this into a pony?" That I have no idea how to do it, and like that's absolutely fine if you look at that and feel like that's too much for you. At the very most, I would expect you at this stage to just look at these pictures to sort of understand what I'm about to explain, and that's that the show style, the way they've developed, you know, how they came up with the way the characters are drawn is based on horses. What we're seeing is a cartoon, but it's a stylized version of real life. They looked at horses, they looked at how a horse anatomy works, and then they turned it into a simplified stylistic representation of that, and then broke those anatomies every time the characters need to do something human-like. But you know, it always comes from that first real life standpoint. Any cartoon, any anime, whatever, is always going to follow this rule. So you can look at pictures of horses, even if at the stage, just to see if you can sort of understand the thought process that went behind, okay, how do we get from this to the cute cartoony ponies? Because it can really help to sort of try and get that mindset.
Yeah, some people like. There's one thing to really. It's really important to remember in art. There's kind of two things you're training. You're not only training your ability to draw, but you're also training your eye to see things to help you draw. You know, training to break down, training to understand what the drawing is, and so you can then deconstruct and reconstruct in your own drawing.
I know a lot of what we're saying probably sounds a little bit confusing, but you'll understand it.
Yeah,
but yeah, definitely, I 100% want to sort of echo and reiterate. Well, he said, looking at other artists as well is super duper great. It can very much help. Just like look at what people have done, and see if you can figure out like what their thought process was. How have they translated the show style stuff? And just like don't afraid to be wrong. Like don't afraid to not be perfect at things. Like that's something we see so often. Oh, that was a really good wing. I was like spot on show style. Yeah, don't be afraid to be wrong. Don't be afraid to be right. Apparently.
Yeah. Happy
Yeah, like
accidents.
yeah, exactly. That's like sometimes you're just gonna bang out a perfectly show style wing. Other times you're gonna be me the rest of the time, and you're just struggling with it, and it's fine. Like we see so many people are afraid to mess up, and it's such a you can't do that. You've gotta mess up. You've gotta get things wrong because you've gotta understand it. And the only way you're gonna learn to understand it is to struggle to understand it.
And to do it,
But
like,
yeah,
because
just
if
to
you
do
don't
it.
do it because you're afraid to get it wrong, then you're not gonna
Yeah,
build that skill
yeah.
because you're not doing
That's
anything
kind yeah,
because you're
that's
afraid.
kind of what I was trying to get to.
Yeah.
Thanks for saying it in a more
That's
sensible
fine.
way.
That's fine.
Just so it actually makes sense what I'm trying to get across.
Art's
um,
hard. Art's fun.
art
Art's
is hard,
art.
art is fun, art is challenging, and art is great. It's well worth the struggle, but it is a challenge and it is definitely a journey. Just absolutely one that's worth taking. It's just going to take a lot of steps, a lot of journeying. You're not going to get to the finish line in one go.
But have fun
Uh,
doing it. Like,
yes,
don't worry about the finish line. There is no finish line. Just have fun. Just
there
just
we go.
draw. Have fun. Draw lots of ponies.
I hope what I've drawn is visible to you enough. I know it's kind of hard to see with the sketch underneath, um, but I hope this can help in some way. What I'm doing is not absolutely gospel at all. So you're free to interpret this and go for whatever references you want to do, or like ignore what I've drawn here. But I'm just sort of giving you while we've been talking about art stuff, just to give you an idea of like how to interpret what you were trying to do. I think into to a more cohesive way.
All right, shall we
Keep
move on to
drawing.
the next one?
Yeah. But keep drawing. Keep it up. It's really awesome
Keep
to see you posting art.
Yep.
Yay.
Great.
Oh, mouse. I believe. There we go. All right, bottom left-hand corner.
This one's cool.
So this is by the idiot on YouTube. So I tried
Aw,
to fuse
so hard on
Luna
yourself.
and Luna
We
together
had this
somehow.
discussion. We had this discussion while you're gone. It's a Pokemon.
Okay,
Yeah.
and end up with this. XD, her head and neck are a little bit too dark. So I assume it's like a very long and lanky Pokemon?
It's a bat.
It's a bat?
It's like a bat. Yeah.
Oh.
We should get a reference picture and put up next to it, because clearly some of us haven't played Sun and Moon.
No, I haven't played a Pokemon in a long time.
I'm just going to shove that in a second when my computer responds. In the meantime, I super love this design. It's really creative how you fuse them together. I think it's really, really cool.
I love the
And very
colors.
intimidating. Yeah.
Like
Because I
the
think the
purples,
wings are
blues.
especially what I'm drawn to. You got like that lovely fade of like the purples and pinks, and just like the darker parts highlighting it. It's just so good. Those wings, amazing.
Mm.
Okay.
It's a shame there isn't the second wing hanging around here.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
it was such a good wing. We needed twice.
I know it's scary though when you're already doing like a big old traditional piece. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, I gotta add another wing. This one already looks fine. I don't need two, right?
Yeah, and especially because if you have to put so much work into making it look super awesome, it can be daunting to think, can I do it again? But it's always worth giving a try.
You also have the same case with the other ear. I mean, the style that you've applied to the rest seems to be very cohesive. We got these very long, lanky, and thin bodies parts, these massive curves that go on, but it happens everywhere, and it seems to make sense for how you've interpreted this drawing. And even like the way you've done your cloven hooves.
The only thing I would change slightly is just the horn, since it's all kind of one thickness. It doesn't fit with the lankiness of it all. That would just be about the only thing I would change to make it more cohesive with the style.
This, I know it's traditional and it's way too late at this point, but totally, like, a wash of a background would have definitely made this character pop a lot. Even like
Totally.
if you're to take a very, very light blue or a very light purple, like just mix the purple, add a whole lot of water to it, and wash it on the back, it would have helped bring them out to the foreground a bit more, and it saves doing an actual background.
Or even like a drop shadow.
Yeah.
To ground it. It doesn't have to be complicated. Like, I know I'm just drawing a circle here, but if you just take a large brush with a really watered down color and just kind of make a circle-esque thing, it'll look great. And of course, you could even tape off the hooves with like painter's tape or not scotch tape. The tan stuff. I can't think of it. Because there's the blue tape that's painter's tape, and then there's the tan tape that's like really easy to peel, and I know a lot of people use it for taping down watercolor paper.
I think it's called washi or something like that.
There is washi tape, but I can't think of the other one. Oh well, it's fine. There's lots
I
of
finally got the Pokemon there. My computer is really slow. Okay.
That's a big Pokemon.
Did it go in fine?
Yes, it did.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense for the direction they've taken some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
All right, shall we move on to the next one then?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Any chance? Yeah.
Oh, there's another one we need to add it's in the voice chat. I don't know if they're still here.
It's embroidered.
Yeah, they're in the chat right now. They haven't been talking here, so I don't know if they're here. But they did. No,
I think they're asleep because it's really early for Pixie and the others in Australia land.
Yeah. Oh. They're in the Picarto chat right now, so.
Oh, okay. Maybe they lied.
Someone want to just quickly boop them in the chat?
Sure.
We'll do this rarity while I
see.
Yeah. Yes, horses. So this rarity is by Silver 7 Aqua, and its rarity is judging your outfit, just practicing hands.
Rarity is judging your outfit. I love that. Very nice. You know, I felt like drawing Rarity the other day, so she's just a good pony to draw. I love the hair braid. It's super nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Arms are hard. Arms are hard.
Embroidered image and comment in the stream team chat.
Nice. Making it easy.
There we go. So like this arm just needs some. I can't rotate the canvas. I can't remember the control. Oh, alt. Nope. Yes. Okay. There we go. Arms and hands are difficult. I don't blame you for struggling with this, but this like big growth on her wrist there. Hands are stupid hard. Was it actually looking at it? She's like laying her hand very flat. I think if you rest your hand on a table, usually in a relaxed way, you'll actually have your fingers sort of tented a bit. So like they'll actually go up and then rest on the table. I mean, you can easily lay your hand flat as well, but I think most of the time, unless I'm mistaken, it's me trying to rotate the canvas. I think most of the time, draw power won't let me rotate. That's what happens most of the time. Yeah, just to make things look a little bit more relaxed. And to look at the arm being on this flat plane, but there's like a dip in the wrist. I think I don't know. Or at the very least, the wrist does sort of get thinner towards the ball of the hand. So it's just worth looking at. Just like I think references can do a lot more than I can, because I spent like the other day also struggling with drawing an arm in a very similar pose to this one.
Hands are hard.
Actually, looking at it, the arm sort of like goes quite like onto the table, and then the hand is like right on like the edge. So she's actually putting her elbow like onto the table and tilting it backwards. You could probably have the hand like here, if that would feel more relaxed. You wouldn't have to have this super harsh bend.
I mean, I'll go in and say this right now.
Her arm is bleeding. What have we done?
For difficult poses, especially if you're doing something that's really close to a human, don't be afraid to do the pose yourself and try to take a picture of it or a selfie.
Absolutely.
Or have someone take a picture.
I was trying to do it as I was describing, and then I realized that my desk was filled with crap.
Like I was observing my hand on my desk at the moment, and I find my fingers really want to curve, and I almost like.
Look at you with the desk screen to do this. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Or you could even do what the old masters used to do: sit in front of a mirror and look at yourself as long as you're drawing, and keep posing and looking and drawing. Mirrors, man. Old.
I like just setting up my phone, setting it up to record a video, doing the thing, doing a few different poses, and then I can go back and scroll through the video.
Brilliant.
Mirrors are really the mirror of the soul and the reference of the self.
The selfie is the reference of the self.
Oops.
I would just move the shoulder over slightly. It's popped a bit out of joint to where I'd expect to see the shoulder rotation for the cuff. So I just moved that back a bit. I do love what you've done with the hair.
Yes, I wanted to bring that up.
Looks so good.
All the strokey pens like really give a nice feeling that it's hair, and it doesn't feel like spaghetti hair. It has just enough texture going on, and how you did the braid and all the color inside. I really enjoy how you did the line art for the hair, and how it differs from the body and such.
All right, shall we move on?
Sounds good to me.
Are we
I hope
moving
you draw
to?
more judgmental rarity. I love him.
I think she should just deliver hugs. Just saying.
She can do both.
I always love that line. Just we deliver so perfectly.
All right, next up is Cake Shake 22. Hell of
I like
rough
that name.
sketch of Lord of the Feathers, O.C. Loveheart. It's a very cute looking horse.
I like the
so much
eyes.
mane.
Yes. Oh, all about that puffy mane.
I don't know, Allie. That looks like a whole lot of shampoo.
Listen, all about that puffy mane. They're magical horses. You can't stop them. Do I gotta pull up the images of IRL magical maned horses? Because I can. I can do it.
I think the only thing that really sort of stands out to me is just the positioning of the horn. As it is, it's sort of almost coming out where an ear would come out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, looking at the head as a whole, sort of the center line where the nose comes out, and then where the horn comes out from that is really good.
I got a favorite way of figuring out horns. I draw for that circle. There's oh my gosh, this is why everything needs to be traditional. I get better feedback. I hate the smooth screen of the Cintiq. It's just bad.
We gotta get you one of those real paper, whatever they're called.
I feel like I'd burn right through the tip doing it. So
I thought the tip would burn through the screen.
maybe. So if we split the head in half, like truly in half, we get a line that splits there, and then if we split it in half horizontally from front to back, we get a line that shoots all the way through the head. From that very middle center point, out 45 degrees to that vertical arch, or vertical arc, words, 45 degrees out here. If we follow that out, we get a pretty good projection of where the horn's going to come out of the head. And we also have an idea of where that circle is going to sit on the head for the base of it. And that's how I do horns. And you can, track it along that line and do different degrees or whatever, but it helps center that. It gives a pretty good idea of how it's going to point and where it's going to sit.
Magic. Ooh, something I'm gonna bring up that's even more general than that. You say this is a quick sketch. You are way too hard on yourself. You sketches don't need to be this. This is line art. I would not consider this a sketch in any universe. So don't be afraid to let yourself get a little messy, because once you get a little messy, you'll find yourself improving. It's hard to relax. It's hard to not want to share things that aren't like crisp and clean and perfect. But don't be afraid to loosen up. You can get such wonderful things out of just kind of letting your pen or pencil glide around, get the feel for things, get the sizes and shapes without being perfect in the first go.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I really cannot stress it enough, and I wish there was ways I could prove to people and show them, because I used to do the same thing. Like, I feel like everyone starts out drawing feeling they need to get the line right the first time, or else it's not good art. That's not true at all. You sketch under sketches. Oh, dude, just be messy, be free, figure things out. You know, like
Messy is the best.
yes. It's like, oh, okay, I want the, and then the head's gonna go, and then it'll make sense to you. Let it make sense to you. What I do won't maybe make sense to you, but it's like, oh yeah, and then we went to face, and okay, there's the split eye, and I like to sometimes do a little more lines just to figure things out, and then it's just being messy, and you get there, and you figure things, and you get the idea. You just have fun, be messy, figure
Yeah.
things out.
And sometimes you just draw different pictures.
Mm.
Just draw the same thing over and over again. Sounds like a crazy person's thing, but it's not.
It's not like you're gonna draw over and over again, and because you're drawing over and over again, you're gonna improve because you're drawing more. It's just life hacks right there.
Yeah, I like setting a timer for like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long, and then just trying to get as far as I can in that time. Try to get it as far as I can. Once the time's up, stop, move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And do that for a little while and try and see how much I can do. And it all ends up messy, and it all ends up all sorts of ways, but it's all learning.
Mm-hmm. I know it must. I know there's a lot of pressure to like. And I don't mean anything by this. I'm just going off of how I first started in art and how I felt and the things I did. I would totally spend hours on a thing and be like, oh, this is just a quick messy sketch, or like, because you always want to feel like it took less work than it actually did. But it's okay that things take work. It just means you're working, and you're working hard.
Especially in a place like the Drawing School Reddit or Discord or whatever, posting messy stuff is always fun and encouraged and good.
Yes.
All right, shall we move on to the next one?
Yes, sir.
Oh, come on, tablet. There we go. Last one up is Embroidered Equations.
Oh, I see them typing in voice chat right now. The timing.
They're coming from inside the room, inside the drawing.
I'm trying to keep half an ear open stream because I'm in class.
Oh, whoa, rebel.
Oh,
I mean, how many of us didn't draw in class? Come on.
I mean, I didn't listen to live streams in class.
No, but it's about their art.
I did listen to a NASA live stream. Does that count?
I'm sure your teachers approved.
when she posted it, she asked not really anything in particular, but just what I could do to overall make it look more 3D and less flat.
Where'd the other arm go?
Oh, it's here. It's just very dark.
Yeah.
Oh, yes it is. Okay. Definitely. Just because we're coming off the front of the chest, your chest is coming out like this. So the arms sort of stick in their sockets over here. I think we just want to put a little curve on the front there. Just to signify that there is an arm coming out of that socket.
Where's the light source coming from? Is it this direction or?
It looks like it's coming from two directions on the picture because the picture has it coming from directly like here but way far out, and then also up here as you pointed out.
Okay.
So the reason we point out light directions is because if you're doing a single source of light, it's very helpful just to, especially digitally, just hawk on the light source. Do an arrow, do whatever you need to do to indicate light is coming from this point, and then you're just gonna scribble or like do all the shading based off of that point. It'll help keep the entire image cohesive for that. If you're doing multiple light sources, do the same. I usually do tail length for intensity, but you do you. Because there's always multiple light sources. Like Your eyeball seems to be a light source, so we'd have radiating light coming off of here. And, interesting. Interesting.
I think something to keep in mind. I know the eyeball is another light source but I need to talk slower. It's not that strong of a light source, so I don't think you'd get this really strong shadow you have going on here. I think it would still be affected more powerfully by this up top light. So you'd probably not have more of the shadow would kind of fight between the two. You'd almost have more shadow here, but with a rim light of the green or the orange. Sorry, I'm using green. So there would be shadow here. And you just get a hint of the green, and I think you get some shadow down here.
Yeah, shadow's probably like the hardest thing to work out for me.
Something I like to do is, especially since you can with digital art, is I like to throw on an overcoat of the shadow. Sometimes I even just take a airbrush and kind of lightly dust over where the darkest areas are, and then I erase out the light, because I find it easier to carve the light out than it is to add the shadow in. I know it doesn't work for everybody, but it is something to try.
I definitely love doing that as well.
My brain registers it better. But well, this isn't traditional, so we don't have to worry about that. But carving out the light, because you're like getting all the high points, it's easy to see.
And it might not work for every picture as well.
I was just gonna say, I like the harsh shadow between sort of the light area here and the dark area here. If you're practicing light sources and positioning, that sort of thing, it can help to sort of focus mostly on, to do mostly sort of the hard shadows and not worry too much about the sort of gradient, because with the hard edges, the form will kind of come out a little bit more without having to worry too much about making the gradient look nice.
All right. Does anyone else have any art they'd like critiqued, or any other questions they'd like to ask? Going once? Going twice? Sold! All right.
One.
Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you again next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.